Welcome to episode 346. I'm Kevin Oakley, and with me today is Beth Russell and Julie Jarnagin. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Good.
Yeah, feeling good.
It's been a busy week, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's that time of year, June or July. It's going to suck. People have questions, but it's kind of, I was talking to some younger person and they were working at a fast food restaurant and they're like, no one ever comes in. And they were complaining. Then I talked to someone else. These are both friends of my daughter's. And then the other person was like, it's so busy all the time. Like it never stops. And it was a good opportunity just to explain, like, you'd rather have it be like the time passes a lot faster than when you're, so people have questions. We got answers. So let's get to story time.
Yeah.
I love that. That was a perfect segue.
Who wants to go first?
I am like mulling around this idea that was kind of inspired in part by this conversation that I had with Julia earlier. And was also inspired by a conversation that we had with Builder yesterday. So we met with the Builder, we actually met with their team, and we're going through how to analyze the algorithm at a deep level and how you can tie that into your strategic planning. And so we had this really cool conversation around the data and how it's actually acting as a spider web, or you have to think of it as a spider web where one piece of information or one data point isn't just what it is at face value. It can be interconnected to all these other parts. And you have to think of all of the things that are connecting it in order to build a strategy. So one of the things as an example was like, well, this one community, we get a lot of calls from signage on this community. And so then we unraveled the spider web connected to that one data point of a lot of calls from signage. And we're like, okay, well, what could that mean? Would this community benefit from self-touring options where people could just walk up and enter themselves if there's someone not sitting there? Could this, what kind of signage do you have? Like, are there more opportunities with your signage that you have on ground? Like, are they running into any difficulty? Are you on Google My Business? Have you checked that? Like, we went down this rabbit hole of other opportunities to divulge into your marketing strategy and to elevate your strategy just from that one bit of information. And then Julie and I had this conversation today, and it made me realize, okay, oftentimes marketers find themselves the victim of the web. So they're the fly when we need to be the spider. And I don't know, it's just this really cool concept that I'm working on and maybe building a blog around. And of course, knowing me, I tied it to Spider-Man and how Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man communicates via his web, writing out, I love you. And it's like, that's what we need to be doing as marketers. We need to be building the web and weaving a story and communicating through our spider web versus being the fly and just like trapped forever.
That's so the first thing that comes to my mind is that there's actually probably multiple spiders on the same web.
Yes.
And we're all trying to get the fly. And that's what I'm trying to figure out what the fly is in my analogy here. But, what is it? There's lies, damn lies, and lies with data, or so, I don't know. There's some saying about manipulation of data there. The data is accessible to everyone most of the time, or at least hopefully in your organization, you're not like walled off from getting access to lots of different data points. But it's who's going to craft all the different parts of the data that's available into the most compelling story that can be told and remembered by everyone else in the organization that they believe. It all has to be true. But one of the, so part of me is like, the way to be the best spider is to, first of all, like you're saying, be aware that the web exists. And second is like, be prepared. Again, don't show up to a meeting thinking that all you have to know is your 5% that like you're directly responsible for. Like, I've got leads, I'm the marketer, so I'm just going to show up with lead data. You're crazy if you're not going in the CRM and looking at how the leads are being handled and what the appointment volume looks like and all the other data points, because it is all interconnected. And whoever comes with the most connections and the best story is going to be the one to get the fly. I'm just not sure what the fly is. Change?
We just can't be the
like
fly.
the necessary change in your organization that they need to go do. But then why would it be a fly stuck in the web? I don't know.
I don't know. I think first of all, I love the fact that I left you speechless for a moment. That never happens. I am going to remember this day.
The kids call
forever.
it a glitch. A glitch.
There's a glitch in the system. Second of all, I think I don't know if you need to necessarily identify the fly. I think it depends on the problem that you have in front of you. Then there is a fly in that situation. The bigger picture here is you don't allow yourself to become the fly where you just look at the data point and you're like, okay, cool. And then you're trapped in this web and don't know how to tell a story. You need to learn that skill. You need to learn how to communicate. And I love what you said in regards to there's multiple different spiders at work, and the one who's able to craft the web is the one who's going to prevail. Because one of the things as coaches that we've been talking about, I love myself a movie reference. If you haven't already put those pieces of the web together, I love myself a movie reference. So we've been talking a lot about, the lion, oh my gosh, what is it called? Lion King, and Simba is lifted up. And I say that is my favorite thing to reference because as marketing, everything the light touches is yours. You can't just live in your world and not expand your knowledge into other areas of the business because you are able to influence other areas of the business. So be Simba and be the spider.
Yeah, I love it. And you need communication from all the other parts of the company too. I think that's what we see sometimes too. If there's, I'm going to call it dysfunction in the company, but if there's not good communication or people are hanging on to stuff or defensive about their part of the business, that's when it makes this a lot harder to do. And we've seen that lately. When things get a little quieter in July, that's when all that stuff starts coming to the surface. Yeah. So that's part of that light touching everything too. You also have to have some empathy and some relationship building.
And the momentum, I think, is already in the marketer's favor at the moment. And I think as the year goes on, it's going to continue. We're seeing a lot more of marketing folks being put in charge of sales parts of organizations, online sales parts of organizations, and IT technology parts of organizations. You've got positions where the CMO is now also the CTO. And I've been thinking a little bit about why is that? Why does naturally, if everyone's playing the game the way they typically do, why is marketing currently being so successful in that? And it comes back to everyone else is trying to optimize for their department, their system, lower our time to build, lower whatever, but it's not put through the lens of how does this touch the customer and impact them. And inevitably, when you make things better for the customer, then they end up wanting to purchase more. They have better experience. They cost you less money. And I think what ends up happening is that if you do that well enough over a long enough period of time, that whoever is the most oldest, largest spider on the web, that I figured out the analogy. The fly is the resources that you're getting the approval, you're picking up that fly from, and you're not going to eat it yourself because you're not a selfish spider. You're going to give it to the king spider or queen spider on the web and be like, here you go. And then they're going to bequeath you the resources you need to go solve the problem. Because that's, as much as we talk about teamwork within an organization, resources are scarce. And so that's the reason why, one of the reasons, there's a lot, one of the reasons this is so important to understand as a concept is, if your budget shrinks every year, that's because you're not doing a good case explaining why those resources are best used in a marketing aspect. Having said that, I voluntarily shrank my advertising budget when I was a builder, but that's because I was making a trade-off for human resources or technology tools that would, I'm like, okay, you can take $100,000 off my budget if you let me spend $60,000 this way. Yeah. And so it was a win-win for everyone. But
okay, I want to hear your opinion on why we are seeing that shift from, or to rather, more marketing leaders having a say or authority over sales, and maybe more marketing leaders becoming the sales and marketing VP or whatever it is?
Well, because first of all, typically division presidents or owners don't like salespeople. They don't even really like marketers. But what they enjoy is a marketer who can use data and consistently speak to it. And not that sales leaders can't, but one of the challenges, and I'm being super sincere when I say it's a big challenge, meaning not very many sales managers, leaders can do this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to look at the data comprehensively as a sales leader, it's also really hard to know the individual stories of the customers your team is working with, which is something you need to know. This goes into my story time, so we'll just unofficially, we've bled into mine, which is just a reminder that not too long ago, I went to visit a builder, and there was a sales manager who had been with the company for 2 years and had never done a one-on-one meeting with his sales team. Like individual salespeople had never had a sales one-on-one interaction.
Wow.
And so I had a model, and he was like, this sounds cool. I've never done it, never heard of it. Can you show me what this looks like? So this is a sales leader who's really, good at the numbers and understanding. And so when they're in that meeting, they can speak to, general trends and the data points and like, here's how things are working. But when things get tricky or there's a community that's not working, you've got to be able to zoom down really close, so it's, I think, harder to build the muscle memory and have all the insights you need as a sales leader to be really impressive to that ultimate person in charge, where they don't feel like they're being like you hear this all the time from senior leaders or owners of companies where they are like, I'm meeting with my VP of sales, and I'll be like, oh, cool. And they're like, well, they're just going to sell me on X, Y, and Z, or why this isn't really a problem, or why my perception is wrong. It doesn't oftentimes feel as collaborative. Whereas if you approach it the right way from a marketing standpoint, like all the big data that's being generated by marketing is directly related to the small data in kind of not always black and white, but more black and white than there's less human feelings that, it's all there. But I think that's part of it, is that if you get really good and you started from ground level in marketing and kind of worked your way through, and you understand that you're a servant leader to sales. So you're not like, you're doing your best to try to help everyone.
Yeah.
And then the technology part, I think, comes from them saying, I mean, if you've got a boomer in charge, they're like, well, I don't know, like this AI stuff, marketing says they use AI for their meta ads and everything else. Maybe they can run IT too. But it comes from a general frustration of technology people being like, legacy systems, this is the way it's been built, this is how we do it. And there's just a general frustration with like, but all that stuff has changed, and you're still worried about how to keep like the internal server that runs half of our website up and running. And there's, again, technology, generally speaking, IT folks are not interested in external customers like at all.
Yeah.
The way they need to be.
Yeah. That's what my brain went to, was some of these really good marketers are moving up in leadership, is they have to be a really good marketer. You have to be good at the bird's eye view, long play, long look, and also be able to get down into the, what is this one customer calling about saying, it's that from the top level to the bottom level and switching back and forth. And I think some of the other departments don't have to work on that skill as much as a good marketer has to go back and forth, because
the team you're managing is like in the building or a Zoom call away, and that's kind of how you're used, like the whole team's used to interacting. Yeah. So again, even that's why it's really hard, because like you've got to be out in the field as a sales manager, you got to interact with all these people face to face, which makes you less productive potentially if you don't have great systems in place. It's it's hard.
And what I've come to witness is a lot of those sales leaders who are also in charge of marketing tend to just kind of put marketing on the side and trust their marketers to run it, which is fine. Honestly, I think that's great.
It's better than the alternative of dictating what should be done.
Absolutely. That's why I'm totally cool with it.
this may be controversial when it comes out. We may have some sales leaders coming back at us.
Yeah, it can happen, but we've said this before. I feel like, you know, you're if you gave me a great sales leader and put them in charge of marketing, or a great marketing leader and put them in charge of sales, I would say you have a 75% chance of the marketer working out, as long as they're not ego focused people, which again, maybe it's just because more introverts are marketers, it seems like. And so maybe there's less ego there or drive. But like a marketer who comes up and is like, now I'm in charge and I'm going to tell the like, that's going to blow up. And that's usually why it blows up. But salespeople put in charge of sales and marketing, I feel like you got like a 25% chance of that working out really well if they're trying to take the reins of marketing versus doing what you're talking about. Which in that case, then are they really like the person in charge of marketing? No. Yeah.
But I think it all comes down to ego, like you just said, Kevin, because the sales leader who's in charge of sales and marketing they need to understand where their strengths are, and they need to be coachable, and they need to learn in the areas that they maybe aren't as strong in, and when it comes to marketing, and they need to trust their marketer. And so the sales leader who's able to put their ego aside and say, hey, I don't really know this as much. I trust you to teach me, and I trust us to make decisions together and collaborate. Again, collaboration being key. Those are the ones that have been extremely successful.
You ready for the punchline or the most controversial part of all this?
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Just got off a call with a builder in the Southwest who said we had 3 struggling communities over the last, I think he said like 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
And he said, you know how we fixed all 3 of them?
How, Kevin?
We just got a new salesperson. Whose job is that? And whose job is staffing? And again, so this was the owner talking, and it was just kind of like, yeah, like we got to focus on, it wasn't a lead problem. It felt like it was, but it really ended up being a salesperson problem.
Yeah. And that's been happening.
Anyway, back to my story time. Like the reminder is, yes, this exists. A lot of sales managers do not have enough specific detail and insight into, if you're managing 5 to 8 salespeople, who are their top 3 to 5 prospects, and what's the unique and in-depth story around each of those people? What are the reasons they're not purchasing? I was with another multi-state super regional builder last week, and they're like, yeah, I mean, they don't know that. They know the big picture. They know kind of, they're managing a whole bunch of other stuff that isn't salespeople, which my argument there is a lot of that is division president work that they don't want to do either. But it's a challenge. You have to have that insight when things aren't working. If you're just looking at big picture numbers and you don't know the individual stories of all the consumers that your sales team is touching, like someone at the management level has to be right on the front line with customer interaction.
Absolutely. The amount of sales managers that aren't in their salespeople's CRMs checking and asking questions is astonishing. Yeah.
Well, that leads me to the last part of my story time, which is just a note on automation. I think if you want to like be a super cunning person in your marketplace, you should create all kinds of content about how your builder is automating everything possible that the customer touches, and posting about it and talking about it, and then actually doing none of it and telling everyone internally, like, this is what do they call it in military intelligence? I feel like you would know this, Beth. It's like a false flag operation. We're going to tell everyone how we've used ChatGPT and AI this and automation this, and we're just going to make everyone get super jealous and try to imitate us, when in reality, we're going to automate nothing that touches the customer at all.
Oh, for your competitors' sake?
Yeah, so that they try to waste all their time and energy creating all this automation that is absolute garbage. And guess when automation, again, is never necessary? When the market is slowing down. You don't need to go faster on anything.
Yeah. And
the amount of additional automated emails, automated texts, automated everything, you should just clap. In fact, you might want to just start like highlighting all of your comrades and be like, they're awesome because they automate everything. Encourage automation. That's like the front part of the t-shirt. And then the back says for everyone else.
For everyone else. Carla, can we make that for Summit, please?
Right. I don't think people understand that going faster it's not how you solve the problems that we have right now. Going faster does not solve any of the problems.
Just like money won't, and more ads won't.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking with someone else yesterday and this morning about this. In a market where the number of people searching is decreasing or the number of lead opportunities are decreasing, the more you reach for the next incremental lead, the more you are abandoning or not boxing out the existing people who are considering you from being reached by another builder. Like defense is the best offense oftentimes. Once you have a certain level of awareness, then you're better off continuing to create more and deeper, better content and ads and messages to the people who have already interacted with you. Because every other builder who's increasing their ad spend, what they're trying to do is reach those people you already know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, and I hate all the AT&T ads about like, hey,
Switch.
New customer, you get the phone. Yeah, and the old customer's like, hey, what about me? And like, you do too. And they're playing off that idea of everyone hates that idea.
Yeah.
But that's what builders do with their advertising. New
It's
leads
what
only.
cars
New
dealerships
traffic
do.
only. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to add another story time, but I kind of want to just because it fits. So I apologize. But it's the sense of like, I have literally, everyone knows I'm a shark when it comes, if you've listened to previous podcasts, I'm a shark when it comes to purchasing a car. And I literally have been in contact with maybe 5 to 10 dealerships locally across the state of Georgia to get the best deal possible. And I had this one dealership that hadn't responded to me yet, right? But then they swooped in and gave me the best deal out of everyone because it was personalized to exactly what I wanted. I told them I wanted exactly what my goal was. They came in and were just like, here you go, and provided great customer service.
Yep. Julie, we're going to let you go in just a second. Don't forget your story time. I just want to toss this one last thing out for consideration. Back to speed is not the most important thing.
Yeah.
Speed and automation. We're going to send 5 email messages over the next 2 weeks and 2 text messages, and the system's going to do it all for our team. We're going to be super efficient about it. Do you think that's going to be more effective than a salesperson who has already had an appointment with someone and they have not responded or have not proceeded, sitting down, looking at the home that customer designed, the things they put in it, the reasons they want to move, and creating a custom video or piece of content that says, hey, I was just thinking about our conversation a couple days ago or last week, and we spent a lot of time looking at the Stanford floor plan. But I went back and looked at the Wakefield and noticed that we can get 95% of the same features for 10% lower cost. What do you think about this option? And what if every week the salesperson did that again? Here's my point in saying this. I don't think you have to pick the right floor plan or suggest the right things. The question that I have is, who the hell else is doing that? So if you get 4 follow-ups from a salesperson, that's about a minute long video talking about all these alternatives based upon things that you've already talked to them about, line that up against any automation you want. I know who I'm wanting to talk to as a consumer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You and Mike have said this before. I don't know if it was on a Pulse video or just, I don't know where it was, but you said this before about like, it is the time now where salespeople need to.
Hey, I called 2 additional lenders on your behalf and just said, given this scenario, what could we do? It doesn't have to solve the problem. It's just again, I keep coming back to the core thing in my mind of my concept or theory that luxury is other people spending time on your behalf, spending their time to benefit you. And that's what salespeople can and should be doing with their follow-up. And instead we're like, can't get them to do that. Just have the robot do it. Sorry. That's what they should do. Everyone go do that. Everyone who's not a DYC partner builder, please do that. I forgot that's what we're doing now.
But this ties in to my story time, because I think you said in a video somewhere recently.
Yeah, too many videos now. I can't
about there's so many people shopping right now. And we've seen that with data. Website traffic is still high. It's the leads that are dropping. And what we need is to give people an excuse that now is your time. Pull the trigger. And I'm not saying needs to be a deal or an incentive, but this is what makes Prime Days, which we just had, so popular with Amazon. How many people had a wish list in their, a shopping list in their Amazon account of stuff they've kind of been looking about and thinking about. And then you went on Amazon Prime Day to see if any of that stuff was on sale. And then it was your excuse to be like, well, I've been wanting this a while. And if I wait, now it's going to be more expensive in a month if I decide to buy it. This is not me saying that an incentive is the way to go, but it's saying it's marketing and in your messaging from OSCs and from salespeople. It's like people are shopping and looking. What are those things that are going to turn that and give people an excuse like, oh, they have a new section opening. That's why it's my time. Oh, they're offering this now. Now it's my time. So that's where they're so brilliant, is it just kicks people over the edge and stuff they might not normally, that would just sit there forever. That's what we've got to do, is just kind of nudge them off the fence.
I like the idea of kicking them better. That is more fun.
You're giving them a rationalization, an opportunity to say, I'm not a dumb consumer. I'm a smart consumer.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I feel like I watch my wife do this all the time with her friends. Like there's this, oh, I love that thing you have. And like, it seems like the coolest thing possible to say is like, yeah, I got it at Target, or like, I got it on sale for whatever.
Yeah. I
got it on Prime Day. Okay. Well, then you must have gotten a better deal, right? Like it might not have even been on sale. Like that. Yeah. I got it on Prime Day.
Melanie and I are the same.
Don't judge me. I got it on Prime Day. All right. Quick announcements. The Online Sales and Marketing Summit is around the corner, and apparently just released. This year's vibe, as the kids call it, is Connect, Create, Convert, the 3 C's. And there are still a limited number of tickets available. That's important, but more important is reserve your hotel room. We do have all of the rooms in the venue this year in Chicago. So it will be a better vibe in terms of just connecting with people, grabbing dinner. You'll be around. So reserve your hotel before those run out. And in fact, just do it. And then Online Sales Academy. That's for online salespeople who are new in in their career or need a refresh. Those dates for I don't know, what do you call it, November, fall, or winter? In my book, it's winter, but I think technically it's fall. It's November 13th and 14th. That's when it is. Fall, winter, whenever. Check out all of the event details. Market Proof Academy dates will be announced soon. Check that as well in upcoming events on doyouconvert.com. All right. First up, from digitalinformationworld.com, we source this stuff. Like we have teams of dozens of people scouring for this stuff in websites you've never heard of. Meta tests AI summaries and post comment streams across Facebook. So Meta is currently experimenting with the greatness of expanding AI. This sounds like AI wrote this.
It does.
Experimenting with the greatness of expanding AI capacity across all of its apps, and Facebook is no exception. I'm not even going to read it. Here's the deal. It's providing short summaries of this. It's basically like sentiment analysis / summary of how are people reacting to this. Here's the one thing I just want to remind everyone. I would not be surprised if the summary is different for different people. So the article doesn't talk about this, but I think somewhere in the last couple of weeks we talked about this, where people are seeing different comments that supports you, and then you show it to your spouse or your significant other, and they're seeing a different curated version of like, man, that lady's crazy, or man, that lady's super smart. I wouldn't be surprised if the summary starts getting personalized, because one of the things the article talks about is wouldn't this hurt social engagement? Because a lot of the fun is going into the comments, and like sometimes they're better than the post itself, a lot of times. So if you're not going in the comments because you just get all the summary and move on, but what if the sneaky part of this is the summary is going to try to pull you in even more by knowing the thing that's going to, wait, they're saying what in there? I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah.
That is where my brain went too. My brain went the same place because I saw the video of the girl saying her top comments were all on the girl side, whatever it was, the guys was all the guys side. Is that, they can make that AI fit whoever's reading it. So it's just crazy how that's now the comments used to be not biased. And now even that can be biased. It's crazy.
Yeah. Biased or just intentionally provoking.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the two. That's why I think it'll be interesting to see is, does it tell you what you want to hear? Or does it tell you what you really don't want to hear so that you're enraged and want to go in and, but honestly, if you want to get me, Meta, all you have to do is just be like all the summaries about the golden retriever content that I subscribe to. Just be like, it's the cutest, video ever. And I'm in. Or like, you won't believe how this post has been hilariously satired 5,000 different ways in the last 20 minutes, then I'm in. Like that's what I want to see.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they like summarize the trolls that people go for in the popcorn emojis.
It'll also be interesting to see. So for those of you who do not moderate or review any of the comments on your social posts as a builder too, or you're not using a tool like Agorapulse or the built-in tools that Meta gives you, like that's not good either. If it's going to start summarizing that the majority of people here think that this builder doesn't follow up on their warranty claims, you got to pay attention.
How are you guys? Are you even enjoying Meta's AI little bot though, as from a user perspective?
Enjoying?
I like the comment summaries that we're talking about. Like I look at those, but when you go to search,
so annoying.
It gives you weird suggestions, or there's just a post with like, do you want to learn more about like cats falling off refrigerators? No, I don't. I didn't want to see that post.
I'm in. Like that. Cats falling off refrigerators sounds awesome. Only to be met by cats reacting to toasters.
Those are good. Yeah.
I think it's interesting. There's a lot going around right now about the fact that so many of Google's searches are no-click searches, meaning you're just getting an answer and you're gone.
Yeah.
I don't go to Meta to look for answers ever. Now, that could just be because I'm old. I know people go to like it. To me, like going to look at photos of a restaurant or a venue or an event, it's not an answer.
No.
In that same way. So I don't find it helpful to me because I'm not going in there to ask for like, how do I tutor my kids? Like they need help with this math question. Can you give me an answer? The Meta AI could do that, but I don't go there for that purpose. I think what would be really helpful is in the future is if it will do a better job of summarizing interaction. Like if someone DMs me that I haven't heard from in a long time, if it would just quickly summarize what's new in their life since I last interacted with them, they're, like, hey, here's some things you might want to ask a question about, or
maybe summarize who this person is to me.
Yeah.
No, I do go.
What is our relationship? What are our 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, please?
I do go to Meta to find answers, but it's for something specific. And they don't do this well yet. That's when you go I live in Mandeville, Louisiana. You go to Mandeville Moms and you're asking, what pediatrician do y'all use? What about this summer camp? Whatever. Now, if they could do that, which they don't do a good job at, because then I'm going through like old posts trying to read other people's, I don't ever post on there. I just want to read other people's comments.
You're in my brain.
If they could do that, I'm in.
You're in my brain, because literally where I got frustrated with Meta's AI is when I went to go search my community group for posts, and it was like trying to suggest to me something else. And I'm like, no. I just want to go in my neighborhood so I can find out what they said about this.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then if they could, combine that together, like they're doing with what people are saying on a post and the comments, and they're saying, hey, here are all the answers your neighbors provided regarding this subject, then you got me.
Yep.
The wild thing about what you said, Julie, is what does it mean to be the best pediatrician in Mandeville? Generally speaking, responsiveness and availability. And yet, like, they're so terrible at that you have to go on a group or Reddit or some other place to figure out an answer to like who is responsive to me when I need help from a doctor, physician, and who has availability.
Yes.
So many. That's why I'm sure you both have had this experience. You can go anywhere to any business, and if someone asks you what you do and you describe how we help home builders and do you convert, 100% of the time, they say, that sounds awesome. Do you think you could help me with that, my business with that? Or do you think you could do it for this industry? Yes, you all suck at this. You are all terrible about just being responsive. But you know what? I think we're laughing at them, but you know why they're not responsive? Because they're falling for the same drug of, I just need more new patients. I need more whatever. That's instead of just responding to the demand that already is there in a better way. Social media today has a infographic showing U.S. TV viewing by platform that shows that 38.4% of all television viewership now, the majority, is some combination of YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, etc. With YouTube leading the charge still, and that's a great self-serve advertising opportunity for builders. You should not be paying a premium to any agency or tool to advertise on YouTube. Netflix is 7.6, and I just bring this up to say broadcast is 22.2%. And cable is 29%. So you put those two things together, traditional television actually still is number one. But those people who are still watching traditional television, I don't want to go too mean on that front, but like, come on.
Come on.
It's expensive. It's expensive to advertise on cable.
Yeah. It's expensive to advertise. Network. And again,
to have it.
The type of people that I want to reach most of the time for a new home are the kind of people who would know how to create a YouTube TV subscription or, use Netflix. If they can't, anyway. But I bring this up because one of the other news articles that we'll put a link in the show notes too, but we're just going to kind of skip over is from Adweek, talking about the fact that Paramount is creating its own tool for you to purchase ads on. This follows Disney Plus and Hulu doing the same a couple months ago. And so really the core message here quickly is there is no reason to pay. Thankfully, there never really was a good reason. But if you want to do over-the-top advertising to direct households or remarketing lists, et cetera, on those streaming platforms, they're all racing to create something like this. And you can and should create your own accounts on those platforms or work with a partner. Like our approach is, hey, we'll teach you how to do it. We'll show you how it works. We can help you manage like any other platform would be managed, but ideally, you should own it. And that availability should over time cut the cost way down, because right now you're paying just an enormous premium, i.e. profit, to some other company because they couldn't do it this way before. So, all right. Then last from adweek.com, marketers need to differentiate loyalty goals from preference goals. Can you imagine a time when you'd marry the first person you dated and stay married for over 50 years? What about taking the first job you were offered and committing to it for 40 years? I hear brands saying they desire fast loyalty, but in today's hyper-competitive market, businesses find themselves in perpetual pursuit of this unattainable fidelity, akin to chasing a mirage in the desert. And to further complicate things, brands' actions are often more aligned with preference than with loyalty. What were your all's top takeaways from this one?
I think this one is interesting for the sake of applying it to home building, because I think there's a lot of marketers having to try to market to the short-term preferences, but they are completely forsaking the fact that our buyers are looking to make long-term commitments. And whether it's not necessarily brand loyalty per se, but what they are purchasing is requiring a long-term commitment. And so we are foregoing the aspect of positive experiences and personalized experiences, and kind of like going back to the conversation we were having at the beginning of this podcast is, creating that relationship and catering to that aspect instead of just like, here's a deal for you, and everybody gets a house.
Yeah. Just to help everyone with the two words, preference is short-term in the sense of, if you're presented with two options, which ones do you prefer? Like if you go to an event, which would be hard to do, which is the way the business is set up, but they were serving both Pepsi and Coke, and you preferred Coke, then that's good for you because you have both options, and short-term you're going to choose Coke. Loyalty to Coke says, when the waitress or waiter says, when you order a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero and they say Pepsi, and you say, I'll have coffee or I'll have water. That's what happens to me. I'm just like, no, I don't. Thank you for telling me. I don't want that Pepsi. So it's a more complicated, longer term, harder to get to thing. Ultimately, loyalty is better because preference is not thinking about the long term. It's just like, right now you got a choice. Which one do you prefer? And it's kind of like giving yourself a slight edge over the competition, but it's not this is what I must have, which still leaves you open up to losing.
I mean, this reminds me of conversations we've had with smaller builders and markets who are going up against bigger builders and markets, and reminding them the position that they have is that loyalty aspect of, you are rooted in this community. You are bringing something of value that the big builders aren't trying to do, because the big builders are, to this article's point, short-term brand preference refers to customers' immediate choices based off of situational factors like proximity or occasion. So a big builder is trying to capture as many people as they can in that market based off of preferences like price point and whatever, price point typically. So a smaller builder has the ability to create that brand loyalty. Look at how dedicated we are. Look at all of the things that we've done in the community, how we've given back. Look at our homes that are still standing that were built 40 years ago in this other community that your parents built in. Like, there's a lot that you can kind of pull from and lean into that brand loyalty from a long-term perspective when you're going up in one market against a big builder.
I think builders have trouble balancing the two. The pendulum swings too far either way. This article talks about the end, instead of viewing them as two separate things, how are they interconnected, like building that brand as you're also getting leads, making sales, hitting all your KPIs. If you can start building that branding aspect, that loyalty aspect into the things you do to get those short-term goals, then slowly over time, you're going to build that up. But it seems like, right now we're not getting enough leads. So we're just going to throw out a bunch of like stuff against the wall to see what works right now without thinking of the longer term impacts. So I think that's the hardest part, is trying to marry those together and in everything you put out. And I can think of a few builders who do this a lot better than others. In everything they're putting out, even in this kind of market, they're still thinking of like the long-term impacts of how people view them and brand and loyalty and all those things.
Yeah. And again, preferences are important to create a preference. And that's oftentimes, until you have an actual interaction with a brand, you can't be loyal to it because you haven't tested it. That's why it just doesn't work that way. It's called the brand equity pyramid. Go Google that, look up the image if you want to, if you're listening. But until you have an interaction with it, and that's why we say that responsiveness and customer service, like responsiveness to the lead is your first customer service test. It's the first test of, can I even develop loyalty for you? If you're not going to return my phone call, if you're not going to respond to me, if you're not going to be available to me when I want to be made available to, I can't be loyal to you. It makes no sense for me to do so. I'll be loyal to someone who shows and expresses that they care about me and my needs. And so builders who think that they have a great brand and then automate everything, use chatbots, keep the consumer at arm's length. It's like, no, you don't. You've created strong preference, perhaps. You really don't understand what brand means. Because the best opportunity that a home builder has to create brand and loyalty is after purchase. After purchase, which is not, again, what people think, but your first warranty call is perhaps more than anything else, your number one predictor of long-term loyalty to your company and referrals and saying nice things about you to other people when you're not in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this article talks about tale of two companies. There's a tale of two builders that come to mind. One that did exactly what you're saying, where they created that brand loyalty long-term post-sale, post-contract, where the cabinets that they had installed were riddled with issues because they had switched vendors and that vendor didn't work out. So what they did is the owner personally called every single homeowner that had those cabinets installed. Years later, went back and replaced all of the cabinets in that home, creating brand loyalty. They did the right thing. It went fantastic. And then you have another builder. These are both true stories where this builder at the sale created a ton of people that ended up hating them and spreading around a local community of people not to build with this builder, and created a nickname for them because they switched prices on them. And it's a small custom home builder, doesn't do a lot, but they switched prices on them last minute and took a bunch of money from the homeowners, didn't close out certain accounts, things like that, and then just left the homeowners high and dry as well after the fact. And one, creating a huge reputation of doing the right thing and will create longevity for the company. The other one, now banned from building in certain communities. And
those are two real life, albeit extreme examples. Here's a less extreme, but also real life example. I think I told you all that a friend of mine was looking to buy a house from a national home building company, and they visited, and the salesperson was like, we're going to close in 5 minutes, and wasn't really helpful. They tried to call, no one would call them back. They showed up a second time, and there was a sales assistant who was helpful but didn't have any information. They just gave up and they said, we're going to look at other places. Well, now they're back. But do you know why they're back? Looking at the same floor plan in the same community and probably going to purchase? Because they got an alert that the price dropped $30,000. They didn't need that $30,000 off to buy before. But that is exactly what it cost the builder to not give them a good experience, is $30,000 to sell the exact same floor plan to the same people in the same place. All right. Let's talk about our things we love, things we hate, favorites. We're gonna stall to give Beth a chance to think of something.
You saw my face, everybody. So if you're watching, you saw it too.
I don't think this is a Prime Day deal either. I think this is just what's happening. But mine is the Mophie 3-in-1 travel charger. Looks like this. It's nice and small. It unfolds to have a wireless charging for your watch, wireless charging for your phone, and for your AirPods. And it all fits up into this nice, small little case. Perfect for travel. It's currently 40% off on Amazon, $89. If you are in hotel rooms, either by yourself or with your family more than twice a year, this is like, it's a game changer than having to bring separate chargers for watches and separate chargers for this and that. It's great.
That would be a good gift. Putting that on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Gifts. Well, I just read a book this week that was
you wrote
shockingly.
a book?
No, I read.
Oh.
I didn't.
It's like another one? Man.
No, I read a
Tell
book.
everyone what the name of your last book that you wrote was.
What's that?
What's the name of the last book that you wrote?
Building certainty. I had to think for a second. Building certainty, content marketing for home builders. But this one's very different. I just read a book called Sociopath, and it's a memoir of a female who is a sociopath, very openly and just trying to be a normal person in the world. I was fascinated. I was.
You think it'll be a streaming series soon?
Probably. But if you like memoir and stuff like that, nonfiction, I was in it. But there were parts of it that I think she was lying. She is admittedly a sociopath.
Yeah,
there were parts I was reading. I was
That
like,
checks.
this part sounds like fiction. I don't know. But anyway, if you're looking for a good book,
That's pretty smart, because maybe you just maybe that's the whole shtick is you don't know what's made up and not made up.
Yeah, there were parts that I was like, not sure I buy that, but okay. But it was really good.
See, that there would make a good television show. Apple TV. There you go.
All right, Beth, did you make something up? Give me something you hate too.
See, no, I get in trouble because I'm the one that does the hate stuff all the time.
We like it though.
Coconut. I hate coconut. So I'm going to out myself because on Friday, we weren't supposed to have a call where we used video, and I'm sitting there in my heatless curls. But that's what I love. I'm going to be honest. It's simple. It
was an internal call with myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't
with Kevin. Kevin saw me in my
You will
heatless
not show up to a coaching call or a leadership call with anyone in heatless curls, just to be clear.
So she looked like
I was
Martha
giving
Washington.
very good Martha
Now
Washington.
we just have to
vibes.
explain to everyone. So I was traveling. I was driving back from an in-person meeting with a builder in another city. And I said, hey, because I enjoy this every once in a while, when you have a regular standing meeting with someone that you know well, like let's just all walk and put in AirPods and don't worry about the camera, especially because we're on camera all the time.
All day.
So that was the setup. And then everyone decided to turn their cameras on anyway, except for me because I was driving. And Beth is in her heatless curls.
So it wasn't Beth's fault.
So is there a brand name for these things? Or is this just a general product category recommendation? What's happening?
Knock off Amazon. I'm sure you can find them on sale right now, 40% off with a coupon. We'll drop the link. I feel like, no, you are not allowed to buy from Temu.
Oh, okay.
That's a hard no.
What if I buy coconuts from Temu?
Look, he's just pushing. He's just triggering. Pushing my buttons. This is what he does, folks. Oh my goodness. But I found a way to do it where I tie it in the back and I can sleep and it's comfortable and I have very thin, fine hair and I'm on camera all day and it always looks crazy, but the heatless curls have been helping. So I'm not Jackie Lipinski who has perfect hair. The woman has perfect hair and it drives me bonkers.
But not perfect eyes because her kids poke them all out.
I know. Shout out, Jackie. We love you.
Yeah. Okay, since we're at the end of the show, when only the hardcore folks are paying attention, I may or may not be creating a in-depth course, which will be made available to our builder partners. It's not going to be for sale for $5.99 or $9.99, or it's not a course like that around pre-sale without fail. So if you have questions or things that you would like to make sure are addressed, or you want to share an interesting story about how you've done something that you feel like maybe new or different related to launching new communities or new phases, shoot me a note at show@doconvert.com, and I will incorporate it into said course. And that course may or may not be made partially or fully available to those who attend this year's summit in Chicago. So,
hint, hint, wink, wink,
Insider
nudge,
information.
nudge.
I mean, it might not, so don't get mad at me. It might just be so great. We got to keep it all for ourselves, but we'll see. See. All right, everyone. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next time.
Bye.